We've heard too much about how to be attractive to men, what to wear, what to say, what to do, what to avoid. But what if I told you that a woman's most powerful allure doesn't come from her appearance, but from a deeper layer of energy, a place where a man's unconscious is stirred, and he himself doesn't even know why? The world has taught women a beautiful lie, that you must be soft, agreeable, sacrificial, and know how to keep a man with your gentleness. Carl Jung called these layers of personality the persona, the mask society places upon us. But behind that mask lies the self, the true essence that, once you connect with it, doesn't just make you attractive, it makes you an enigma a man can never forget. So why is it that when you stop trying to be loved, men begin to crave you? And what is true feminine energy? Why do so many women never tap into it? In this video, I'll take you on a journey to uncover the secret of primal feminine energy. Not the kind you've been taught by society, but the kind you've always carried within, yet never dared to fully live. And perhaps a part of you will doubt, will hesitate, because the journey back to yourself always demands letting go of familiar roles. But if you're brave enough to continue, I believe this: the love you've longed for will come, not because you sought it, but because you've become someone worthy of receiving it. Are you ready to open that door? Revelation 1. Deconstructing the myth of the good woman. From the time we were little girls, most of us were taught to become good women. The gentle woman, the listener, the sacrificer, the one who doesn't cause trouble, who doesn't get angry. It's as if the ultimate duty of a woman is to be a soft pillow for others to rest upon, rather than a towering mountain standing proudly against the sky. But Jung revealed a brutal truth. Any role we wear to be loved will, in the end, strangle our very soul. In Jung's language, the good woman is the persona, the mask society imposes. It's meticulously crafted from family expectations, lessons taught in school, romantic movies, and the praised examples of those who endure well. The persona isn't entirely false. It's just a shallow fragment, never reflecting the entirety of who we are. The problem is, when a woman lives too long in that mask, she starts to believe she is the mask. She mistakes obedience for love, sacrifice for value, and meekness for femininity. And that's where the tragedy begins. Imagine this: you walk into a room and meet two women. One is always smiling, agreeing with everything, listening, but never voicing a contrary opinion. She's sweet, approachable, but her eyes lack something, perhaps the vibrant spark of a free soul. The second woman isn't necessarily more beautiful, but she radiates a thick, undeniable vitality. She listens when needed, speaks when she wants, and her silence carries weight. You feel as though she carries an entire world within her, an undercurrent you've only glimpsed. Men, even unconsciously, feel this too. The first is the good woman society applauds. The second is the woman who has begun to shed the persona, to return to her true self. And deep down, men are drawn to that world, not because she caters to them, but because she exists authentically. One of the greatest tragedies existed as a distinct person. I was just a mirror reflecting his preferences, needs, and desires. From a psychological perspective, the good woman is the product of unconscious conditioning. When a child is praised for being good, but punished for being stubborn, her mind learns that her instincts are wrong, and only compliance is acceptable. So, as an adult, she loves not with a free heart, but with fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough, fear of not being worthy. And fear is never an attractive energy. Fear only breeds dependency. Jung introduced a crucial concept: the shadow. It's the part of ourselves we reject out of fear. For many women, the shadow is their anger, their rebellion, their ability to say no. Society teaches them to bury these, to become gentle. But when a woman doesn't dare connect with her shadow, she can never be whole. She's only half a moon, obscured. And men, instinctively, won't feel compelled by an incomplete soul. Picture a candle and the moon. The candle is sweet, warm, but it only burns when lit by a match. It's dependent, small, and a gust of wind can extinguish it. The moon. It doesn't ask permission to shine, doesn't need anyone to ignite it. It's quiet, mysterious, sometimes full, sometimes waning, but always orbiting on its own path. A man might sit by a candle for a while, but it's the moon that keeps him gazing, even losing sleep over a light that doesn't belong to him. The irony is, when a woman chases the good woman ideal, she thinks she's doing the right thing to hold on to love. But in that moment, she drains her primal feminine energy, the very thing that drives men wild. That femininity isn't about being gentle. It's instinct, intuition, raw wildness, a softness with the power to sweep away mountains. It doesn't need permission to exist. And if a woman only knows submission, that energy stays dormant, never awakening. So the first revelation is a painful truth. The good woman doesn't make men obsessed. She only makes them comfortable. And comfort is never magnetic. Comfort is like a sofa, cozy, pleasant, but no one loses sleep over it. A piece of art, however, can hold you for hours, unsettle you, even haunt you for years. A woman who embodies her true self, with both light and shadow, is that piece of art. But to move from a safe sofa to an haunting masterpiece, a woman must dare to shed the persona mask. She must dare to say, "I'm not here just to make you happy. I am a universe." She must face her shadow, embrace her anger, her desires, her wildness, all the things she was taught were ugly. Because it's in that confrontation that her true feminine energy awakens. Pause for a moment. Close your eyes and ask yourself, if you no longer had to be the good woman to be accepted, how would you live? If no one judged you, if no mold confined you, what would you choose to express? Let the answer speak freely in every breath, every heartbeat, every glance you give yourself. And here's the profound paradox. The more a woman tries to be good, the further she strays from herself. The further she strays, the more invisible she becomes. But when she stops, when she starts listening to herself, when she dares to step out of the gilded cage of expectations, she begins to shine. And that's when men don't just like her. They can't stop thinking about her. Revelation 2, true femininity is self-sufficiency. When that mask falls away, the void left behind often terrifies a woman. If I stop living to please others, will I still be loved? It's at this breaking point that Jung would name a turning point, the journey back to the self, the whole essence within, where true femininity is not an outer shell, but a state of self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency here isn't a slogan like, "I don't need a man," nor is it cold arrogance. It's a vibrational state. A self-sufficient woman enters a room without needing to boast, yet everyone senses she doesn't seek validation. Like a primal forest, it doesn't need applause, doesn't need a sign saying "pay attention." It exists, vibrant with life, and that very existence commands power. In Jung's psychological language, when a woman embarks on the journey of individuation, she gradually stops being driven by the need to be chosen. Instead, she becomes the center of her own inner universe. And the beautiful paradox is this: when she no longer needs to be chosen, she becomes an irreplaceable choice. Men don't go wild for a dependent woman, but for one who doesn't need them to exist, yet whose presence is too radiant to ignore. One follower shared, "I used to be the woman who waited for texts, always ready to rearrange my schedule just to meet him. Then I realized I'd abandoned painting, my greatest passion. I started returning to my art, painting every night with headphones on, letting the world fade away. Strangely, that's when he became restless. He said he'd never seen me so alluring, even though I wasn't trying. I understood then. When I stopped making him the center, I became the sun of my own world." This is a living testament to the Jungian paradox. Attraction If a woman signals, "I need you to feel complete," a man will unconsciously respond with distance, as the human mind isn't drawn to what's already within control. But when her energy says, "I am whole, and you can only add to my world," he feels a primal pull. This awakens the archetype of the conqueror, a Jungian motif describing an ancient drive in men to pursue challenges, to seek what lies beyond their grasp. From an evolutionary psychology perspective, this ties to dopamine and the scarcity mechanism. The human brain produces more dopamine when chasing something uncertain than when possessing something assured. Thus, a self-sufficient woman with her own world and rhythm, becomes an intriguing distance that men can never fully control. It's this unpredictability that creates a primal attraction, making him unable to walk away. Think of a river. If it runs dry, creatures scramble for it, driven by scarcity's panic. But if it flows abundantly, ceaselessly, it becomes an endless source of life. People don't come because they fear losing it, but because its overflowing richness draws them in. A self-sufficient woman is like that. She doesn't beg, doesn't cling, but her abundance makes others want to stay. Jung affirmed that the journey of soul maturity isn't about becoming someone else, but becoming your whole self. A self-sufficient woman doesn't need to play the cold goddess or feign independence. She simply returns to what truly nourishes her: art, work, nature, silence, and healthy relationships. From that foundation, she becomes a vibrational frequency. Men can't articulate it, but they feel it, and that feeling drives them wild. It's proof of a profound psychological law: humans crave what they fear losing. A self-sufficient woman doesn't cling or need, but her freedom becomes magnetic because men know she'll shine even without them. And that's what makes them unable to let her go. Revelation 3, Mystery and Depth. Every woman is a bottomless ocean. But there is a subtler paradox, a more intense allure. Men are not obsessed with what they fully understand, but with what they can never fully reach. And here, Jung unveils a mystical truth. True femininity is not a serene surface, but a profound ocean, where the deeper you go, the more you discover inexhaustible layers of the soul. Imagine this. The sea, viewed from the shore, is always smoothly blue, sparkling under the sunlight, gentle like a ribbon of silk stretching out. But if you venture farther, you begin to feel the undercurrents, the surging layers of waves, the abyssal depths that even light cannot touch. A woman is the same. When she lives only on the surface, predictable and calm, men may find her comfortable, but soon grow bored. But when she lives with both light and darkness, with wisdom and mystery, she becomes an ocean that can never be fully explored. And it is that incompleteness that traps a man's soul in an endless intoxication. Many women in relationships often think that to prove love, they must reveal everything about themselves, from fears, pasts, to the smallest secrets. But the more they give away all, the more they encounter indifference from the other. Conversely, some women don't speak much, but each word they utter carries weight. Even in silence, their presence provokes curiosity, a desire to understand deeper. Reality shows that men are not obsessed with someone they know completely. They are truly captivated only when they sense there are many layers yet to be discovered. From a psychological perspective, this ties directly to the anima archetype that Jung described. In a man's unconscious, the anima is the image of femininity, not as a specific individual, but as a symbol of mystery, of intuitive wisdom, of the gateway to the collective unconscious. When a woman lives authentically with her depths, she unwittingly awakens the anima in a man. He doesn't just see her as a person, but as a door into the repressed parts of his own soul. And this awakening creates obsession. He cannot leave, because leaving means losing a part of himself. Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." The encounter between two souls is not an exchange of information, but a transformation. A mysterious woman, not because she plays games of concealment, but because she possesses depths no one has touched, will make a man feel as if he's before a catalyst. He doesn't just want to be with her, he craves the transformation she ignites in him. From a neuroscience angle, humans are drawn to uncertainty. When the brain encounters an unpredictable situation, the reward system activates more strongly, releasing more dopamine than when the outcome is certain. A predictable woman is like a song with a single repeating melody, initially pleasant, but soon tedious. In contrast, a woman with depth is like a symphony. Each listening reveals a new detail, an unexpected variation. And men, like any listener, will feel compelled to return, to understand more. Us on this path, so that each time you return, that inner door opens a little wider. Revelation 4. The Rhythm of Light and Darkness. In the previous parts, we've seen a paradox. The more a woman tries to be the good person or self-sufficient, according to molds, the more she loses her essence. But Jung goes further. He said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This means femininity is only truly whole when a woman embraces both the light and the darkness within her. At the core of Jung is the marriage of opposites in the psyche. Light and darkness are not two opposing sides to choose from, but two poles of the same psychic energy field. When we only imagine figures of light, we are living in the illusion of the persona, the socially approved mask. Making the darkness conscious is inviting the shadow into dialogue, acknowledging anger, envy, sexuality, the thirst for power, as living data of the soul, rather than trash to sweep away. In the moment we dare to look straight at the shadow without self-condemnation, the transcendent function activates. Consciousness stands between the poles, listening to both, to produce a higher synthesis, the self. Then, wholeness is no longer a clean image without dark corners, but a spacious realm, vast enough to hold both light and dark. In everyday life, a woman's light is her gentleness, her love, her ability to support and give. But the darkness exists alongside. It is anger, desire, the thirst for power, jealousy, a fierce independence that refuses to be owned. Society often teaches women to hide this darkness because it is seen as ugly, dangerous, hard to love. Yet, it is this suppression of darkness that leaves many women living half-lives, mere truncated versions of themselves. In Jung's language, libido is life energy, not just sexuality. When repressed, energy doesn't vanish. It transforms into lethargy, depression, passive aggression, and excessive kindness. Anger signals boundaries. Desire is the flow of life. Jealousy is the fear of lost connection. The thirst for power can be the call to autonomy. When we label them bad and suppress, we lose the healthy functions beneath. Reclaiming the shadow isn't advocating violence. It is differentiation, integration. We learn to read emotional codes, transform anger into boundary assertion, desire into conscious enjoyment, extreme independence into connected freedom. Thus, femininity isn't trimmed, but deepened, resonant, with amplitude. Look at nature. The sun is brilliant, but if it shone 24 hours without rest, humans would lose orientation, flowers would wilt, and the world would exhaust itself. The sun's beauty lies in its cycle, day and night, radiance and quiet. The moon, too, waxing and waning, hiding and appearing. It is this transformation that keeps humans gazing upward. True femininity operates on the same principle. If a woman always shines, always available, she becomes a habit. But when she knows when to withdraw, when to give, her energy suddenly becomes unpredictable, and that unpredictability drives men wild. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of the shadow. We often avoid it, thinking love can only exist in the light of gentleness, of giving, of always being there. But according to Jung, a soul that cannot integrate the shadow will never be whole. In the language of femininity, this means no one can be attractive if they are always available, always agreeing, always shining. True allure comes from the ability to disappear at the right time, to conserve energy for herself, to cloak the flame in night so that the light becomes precious when it dawns again. From a psychological view, denying the shadow only creates what Jung called projection. What we reject in ourselves, we see in others and react strongly to it. A woman who dares not face her own anger will often enter relationships with angry men. A woman who dares not face her desire for power will often attract controlling partners. But when she dares to look straight at the darkness within, she withdraws that projected energy and becomes a whole essence. Jung called this the integration of the shadow. It doesn't mean women must become cold or distant. Rather, they learn to respect both presence and absence. Light warms, but darkness creates longing. It is this combination that forms a whole soul, and that wholeness touches men's unconscious. Integration doesn't mean exploiting the shadow for effect. It is the virtue of containment, a heart wide enough to welcome both gentleness and ferocity without being swept away. When a woman contains her emotions, she becomes a safe vessel in relationships, not because she swallows everything, but because she knows transformation. Anger into clear boundaries, fear into specific requests, jealousy into honest dialogue. In terms of attachment, it is secure autonomy, reliable yet not dependent. The male unconscious recognizes this like solid ground, not fleeting stimulation, but a structure that supports life. And from here, a new layer of energy naturally emerges, the energy. Take a deep breath and feel. In this moment, without anyone watching, without anyone validating, are you full simply because you exist? Leave your thoughts below, perhaps an emoji or a short share. It's a quiet reminder to yourself that you deserve to exist as you are. In a hurried world, a woman sitting down to enjoy a cup of tea, a piece of music, or a stroll is no longer mundane. It becomes a ritual. Jung analyzed that humanity's collective unconscious always needs rituals to connect with the sacred. But today, when religion no longer blankets life as before, the woman, if she lives mindfully, becomes the embodiment of that ritual. Each step, each breath, is a reminder that life is inherently sacred. And men, when beside her, feel they are touching something beyond the ordinary, the sacred in human form. From a psychological angle, this state can be explained by the union of ego and self. When the ego stops chasing external validation and begins to submit to the self, an inner peace appears. The woman no longer worries, "Am I good enough to be loved?" Instead, the question shifts to, "Am I living true to my soul?" This shift changes the entire energy field. Psychology calls it emotional autonomy, the ability to self-generate joy, to self-nourish without dependency. And the beautiful paradox is, precisely when a woman no longer seeks, she becomes the center of seeking. Look at a river. It flows, babbling, filling itself from underground springs, rain, and melting snow. It doesn't beg anyone to come, doesn't worry if someone leaves. But because it flows, because it self-nourishes, all life around it seeks it. Birds drink, trees root, people pause to rest. A woman who knows inner enjoyment is like that river. She doesn't need to call anyone, but the world finds her, because her energy has become a refuge. From Jung's view, this also relates to the archetype of the Great Mother. The archetypal mother is not just the nurturer of children, but the symbol of life, of self-regeneration, self-nourishment, and nourishing the world. When a woman lives in inner enjoyment, she doesn't just become a lover, a friend, but a symbol of the source, where men feel they touch the deepest life. Another everyday example. A woman in her 30s, having endured many upheavals, shared that she learned to dance alone in her room, just to feel her heartbeat. No filming, no social media posts, just her and the music. She said that was when she felt most beautiful, not because anyone watched, but because she saw herself. And strangely, from when she lived like that, the men who came to her no longer sought to save her, but to companion her. They were drawn not by a void to fill, but by a fullness to share. At a deep psychological level, this is the eros energy Jung spoke of, the principle of connection, of life, of attraction beyond logic. Jung distinguished between logos, reason, order, laws, and eros, love, connection, the flow of life. Masculine energy often aligns with logos, logic, results, and goals. But a man's soul still thirsts for eros, that which connects to life irrationally. When a woman enjoys inwardly, she embodies eros. No reason needed, no destination, just life flowing through her. A dance for no one, a smile without cause, a tear falling in peace, all emit signals of eros. And men, though rational, are pulled back by that eros because it awakens the soul part, long suppressed by logos. A woman who knows inner enjoyment is like a fruit tree trusting its cycle. She doesn't force blooming out of season, doesn't compare her fruit to the neighbor's garden. She nourishes from the roots, welcomes rain, welcomes sun, and when the season comes, the scent of ripe fruit naturally spreads. Outsiders cannot rush it, cannot hurry. Pure feminine energy is like that. It doesn't rush, doesn't need to prove. When she is full, everyone will seek her, like bees to honey, like travelers to a spring. Modern psychology describes two key states, mindfulness and flow. Mindfulness is being fully present in the moment, without judgment. Flow is the state where one merges completely into an activity, forgetting time. A woman who knows inner enjoyment can enter flow in small things, painting, strolling, even washing dishes. This isn't fake living, but real vibration. And that still vibrant energy makes others, especially men, feel safe and drawn in. Throughout this journey, you've seen that femininity is not a technique for seduction, nor a checklist of actions. It is like an ember flame already within you from birth. The issue isn't how to have it, but daring to remove each layer of conditioning, each mask, each illusion, so that flame can shine freely. Carl Jung emphasized that the path back to essence is not easy. It requires daring to abandon false safety, to face the parts of yourself you once rejected. But in that courage, something miraculous happens. You no longer need to seek love outside, because you have become its embodiment. And perhaps that is what men sense most deeply, not beauty, not cleverness, but the presence of a soul that chooses to live true. A soul both radiant and still, There is a kind of silence in a woman that does not push a man away. On the contrary, it awakens in him a primal obsession. It is the kind of silence that keeps his mind returning to her, even after he has turned his back and walked away. An absence that does not cool but ignites a fire in his unconscious, the deepest, most instinctual part, where reason cannot intervene. This silence does not stem from anger or manipulation. It is not meant to punish or gain the upper hand. It arises from a steadfast inner core, what Jung called the authentic self, where a woman is no longer swayed by the fear of abandonment. She has transcended the shadows of a wounded ego, embarked on the journey of individuation, and lives with a fullness that comes from within. So, where does the secret of this feminine silence truly lie? Why is a silence so full of presence more addictive than 1,000 invitations? And how can your silence, instead of creating distance, become a magnetic field that makes him unable to stay away? In this video, we will unravel the profound mystery behind the kind of silence that makes a man unable to leave you. Don't miss a single moment, because this is not merely an emotional strategy. You will soon understand why you felt overlooked, not enough, or too much for someone. And more importantly, how to transform that very silence into a source of power that ensures no one will ever take you for granted again. Number 1. The unconscious trap that pushes a man away. There is a type of silence that seems like a pause, but is, in truth, an invisible scream echoing from a panicked soul. It is not the stillness of someone who has found themselves, but the silence of someone sinking, clinging to the fragile hope that if they say nothing more, they will return. But he doesn't. And the more you wait, the more you lose. Why? Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Most of the decisions we make in love, which we think are rational, actually come from a deeper layer, the unconscious. And in that unconscious, if the fear of abandonment is an unhealed wound, silence will never be a deliberate choice. It is a reaction, a shell into which a woman retreats when she feels her value diminishing in a man's eyes. Imagine a woman in a deep, passionate relationship. When her partner starts to become busier, replying to messages less frequently, she doesn't know what to do except disappear. But this disappearance doesn't come from calm. It is the soul's contraction when triggered by a familiar pain, being ignored, undervalued, forgotten. She waits. But each passing hour, instead of making him feel her absence, renders her invisible. The problem lies not in the act of silence, but in the energy beneath it. A silence filled with fear is not a magnetic field, but a toxic current. Men don't hear the cry for help. They only sense an invisible pressure, as if someone is silently clinging to their shoulders, pulling them down, demanding, manipulating. Though no one speaks, their instincts understand clearly. If I don't come back, she'll collapse. And that doesn't make them feel valued. It makes them exhausted. Picture yourself in a sealed room, the air growing heavy a defense mechanism. And defense mechanisms don't build connections. They build walls. The real pain here isn't that he leaves. It's that you've lost yourself trying to hold on to a fracturing connection. And while you silently wait for him to return, you also gradually lose connection with your being. If what I'm saying touches a familiar pain within you as you hear this, don't look away. Stories like these are why we created this channel, to shine a light on the unconscious parts driving your emotional life without your awareness. Hit the like button to affirm to the universe that you're ready to see the truth, and subscribe to this channel to continue this journey of healing, not through fighting, but through awakening. Remember, Jung never said, "Fix others." He always emphasized, your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. So ask yourself, where does my silence come from? If the answer is, because I'm scared, I don't want to be left behind, I don't know what else to do, then you're not being silent. You're paralyzed. And men are not drawn to the vibrations emitted by that paralysis. Silence can indeed be a powerful act, but only when it comes from a mind that has learned to accept all possibilities. If you're silent while inwardly pleading, "Please see my worth," that silence is a plea dressed in pride. But if you're silent and know, whether he stays or leaves, I am here, whole in my world, that is the silence a man cannot bear, because it is not an absence, but a challenge to his ego. You see it now. Not all silences are created equal, and in love, the emotion beneath the silence is the strongest message you send, even without speaking a word. Number 2, silence from within, the spiritual act of the individualized woman. If fearful silence is a stifled cry, then silence from within is the deep breath of a woman who has returned to her soul. It is not a silence born of exhaustion, but a space born of abundance. Not because she has nothing left to say, but because she doesn't need to speak to be felt. This is the silence Carl Jung alluded to when he said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." True stillness is not emptiness. It is the most powerful voice of a self that is whole. And that is what makes a man unable to forget you. Not because he hears your call, but because he feels your echo in his mind. Such a woman doesn't stay silent to make him return. She stays silent to return to herself. This silence is not a tactic, but a ritual. Not a tool, but a spiritual state. Like a flower that doesn't need to beckon bees, yet draws the entire garden to its intoxicating fragrance. You can recognize this woman in her eyes. She doesn't probe or expect. Her gaze is deep, like an ancient lake, where you see yourself reflected but cannot stir its depths. She doesn't ask, "Will you call?" or "Do you still think of me?" Because in her world, those answers don't define her worth. From a psychoanalytic perspective, this state marks a woman who has moved beyond identification with her shadow. Jung believed the individuation process begins when we confront and integrate the rejected parts of ourselves. In love, women often unconsciously hand their center to a man, and when he withdraws, they feel empty. But when she begins to reclaim that center through meditation, art, or full presence with herself, silence ceases to be a void. It becomes a sacred space for her to grow. One of the most powerful metaphors for this inner silence lies in Scripture, the image of the Virgin Mary at the foot of the cross. Amid excruciating pain, as her Son, the symbol of life, love, and hope, was crucified, Mary did not scream, cling, or resist. She was silent. a silence not born of paralysis but of a profound acceptance of what cannot be changed, and a faith that needs no confirmation. From an analytical psychology perspective, this is not merely a religious act. It is a symbol of mature femininity, a woman who has transcended instinctual emotions to touch inner wholeness. In this state, silence is no longer inaction. It becomes an inner ritual, an act of a self that holds itself up. Mary did not call down God the Father to change her son's fate. She did not panic at the loss of control. Instead, she stood there, fully present in her pain, her clarity, her love without grasping. And that complete presence is what made the Romans, the disciples, and centuries later, humanity bow before her image. Carl Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And the woman who embodies silence from within has touched that truth. She accepts all her emotions, pain, longing, loneliness, and no longer needs anyone to save them. In this state, her energy becomes primal and irresistible. Modern psychology calls this emotional self-regulation, the ability to soothe oneself without external sources. This is a hallmark of profound emotional maturity and is profoundly attractive to men. Not because it poses a challenge, but because it evokes something deeper, a sense of safety. For no matter how strong a man is, he is a child at heart, and that child is always drawn to the woman who makes him feel there is a place to return to. Wounded ego with the stillness of a mature soul. Wounded silence often stems from feelings of rejection, hurt, or abandonment, yet an inability or unwillingness to engage in dialogue. Instead of speaking, a woman lets her messages be seen and responds with cold silence, posts cryptic quotes on social media, withdraws from conversation without explanation, or deliberately creates distance just to make the other person worry and take initiative. All these behaviors carry a compressed energy of expectation, disappointment, and unnamed anger. This is the unconscious trap, as Jung pointed out, where The shadow acts without our awareness. You think you're keeping distance to be respected, but in reality, you're quietly punishing the other person with your unintegrated wounds. Imagine a guitar strung too tightly. Wounded silence is that inner tension, not producing sound, but emitting a vibration that makes those nearby feel stifled. Men perceive it as an attack cloaked in silence, and their instinct for self-preservation kicks in. Instead of coming closer to soothe, they pull back to avoid being engulfed by an unnamed emotional storm. In contrast, addictive silence is a soft space, like stepping into a cathedral. Quiet, profound, without threat. It's not distance to teach someone a lesson, but a space for you to breathe, to return, to be reborn. And in that space, a man begins to feel an indescribable absence. Not an absence that breeds fear, but one that sparks imagination. As Jung said, man needs difficulties. They are necessary for health. A man needs that distance to reconstruct an idealized image of you in his mind. From a psychoanalytic perspective, the difference lies in the underlying intention of the behavior. Jung emphasized that every act carries symbolic meaning. If your silence symbolizes unacknowledged anger, it creates resistance. If it symbolizes a return to yourself, it generates attraction. We often think love is measured by words, attention, or presence, but sometimes it's measured most accurately by how you withdraw. Not withdrawing to retaliate, but to preserve yourself. And in that perfectly tuned withdrawal, your presence becomes exponentially more powerful because it's no longer tied to unstable emotions, but anchored in a self standing firmly on the ground of its soul. If you've unconsciously practiced these forms of silence or are unsure which kind you're embodying, share in the comments so we and others watching this video can offer clarity. Rest assured, no one is alone in this journey of awakening, though each walks it with different steps. One way to distinguish the two silences is to ask, if he never comes back, will I still feel at peace with this choice? If the answer is no, you're using silence as a gamble. But if the answer is yes, you're embodying silence like a priestess in her sacred temple, needing no one to enter to validate her worth. Jung wrote, "Only the paradox comes anywhere near to comprehending the fullness of life." And this is the strangest paradox of silence. When you stop using it to be noticed, you become impossible to forget. Now you understand. Not all silences are expressions of strength. Not all absences inspire longing. But there is a kind of silence, born from a self reconciled with its shadow, that will always make a man unable to look away, because it's not a distance between two people, but a distance between him and the unhealed parts of himself. Number 4. The art of creating space. Having understood the two faces of silence, we move to a deeper core, the art of creating space. Not to make someone realize something, nor to make them chase you, but to return to your original self, the authentic whole part of you, unconditioned by the fear of loss or the craving to be loved. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." The space you create in a relationship, if done rightly, is a mirror reflecting your heart. A necessary pause to hear the inner voice drowned out by the noise of expectations and wounds. Creating space is not the no-contact strategy. It's not about locking your phone, deleting numbers, or vanishing from social media to get attention. If those actions stem from anger, pain, or hope for a reaction, they remain a subtler form of manipulation, but manipulation nonetheless. True space is a conscious and soulful act. Like planting a seed in the ground, you don't dig it up daily to check if it's sprouted. You create space, step back, and trust the natural process. This is the spirit of a woman who knows how to make room for her growth. From Jung's perspective, creating space is how you withdraw the energy you've projected onto others. When you stop placing your expectations, meaning, and emotions on a man, you begin to have room to see yourself more clearly. What's real? What's illusion? What's an unhealed need? In Jungian psychology, projection is inevitable. We always project unaccepted parts of ourselves onto others, especially in love. But individuation begins when we It's a space, an empty cup, embodying receptive energy. Jung analyzed the Grail as a symbol of divine femininity, not grasping, not forcing, but in its conscious openness, it holds what is valuable. Creating space from freedom doesn't start with cutting contact, but with redirecting your gaze from the other back to yourself. The first step is to stop reacting. Don't rush to respond. Don't post something just to be seen. Don't act from the mindset of, I must do something to keep this connection alive. The moment you realize you're acting out of fear of being forgotten, pause. Not to be silent, but to observe that urge. What part of you isn't being heard? Instead of reaching for your phone, reach for a blank page and a pen. You begin to change your relationship with yourself. Write not about him, but about the emptiness you feel without him, and what you fear will come if that emptiness persists. This isn't writing to lament, but a practice of recognizing projected energy. What emotional responsibility are you giving him that should be yours? When you're done, don't reread it. Fold the paper as a small ritual. I see myself, and I reclaim my energy. Then stand up and choose an action that brings you back to your real life. Walk alone without your phone, cook slowly, draw even if you don't know how, tidy your space with instrumental music. These seemingly small acts aren't to fill the void, but to allow the void to exist without frightening you. That's the space born of freedom, where you stand in your life as its master, no longer a gatekeeper waiting for someone to return. And if the urge to reach out persists, to call, text, or check social media, don't suppress it. Redirect the behavior, not the emotion. Instead of picking up the phone, pick up a paintbrush. Instead of writing to him, write to the part of you that feels empty. As you repeat this, you rewire your neural map. Instead of reacting to keep someone, you act to keep yourself. These aren't habits to seem busy. They are self-rituals, repeated not to kill time, but to transform the void into a sacred place where you rediscover your true voice, undistorted by others' reactions. And when the void is no longer an absence to be filled but a fertile ground for your growth, something subtle happens. You no longer need anyone to remember you, yet you become the most unforgettable. And perhaps that's when you reach a new state, where you no longer need to do anything to be loved. Like a wild meadow blooming in season, without advertising or predicting, it simply blooms, because it is itself. A woman who returns to that state needs no strategies. Her presence is an irresistible invitation, not beckoning, yet no one wants to leave, not promising, yet others stay. Number 5. The woman who captivates because she is herself. The woman who leaves an indelible mark on a man's mind is not the most beautiful or the most skilled at psychological games. She captivates simply because she does not try to captivate. She doesn't manipulate, set traps, or amplify her presence as a ploy. She doesn't need to be mysterious by the book. The authenticity in her every moment is a mystery that cannot be imitated. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And in the state of becoming her truest self, a woman steps into a form of allure that cannot be measured, for it comes not from appearance, but from frequency. This frequency radiates from a soul that has stopped striving for acceptance, that has ceased adjusting itself to fit the insecurities of others. A therapist once described this archetype as a self-generated gravitational field, a kind of energy a woman doesn't need to create, only to stop trading herself to be chosen. This allure doesn't lie in her reticence, coldness, or unpredictability, but in the substance of her inner world, a vibrant independence, a quiet fullness, a charm that needs no display. And it is at this moment that a man, accustomed to conquering or evading, encounters something unfamiliar, a desire to be near her, yet an inability to control her. Picture a primal forest. It doesn't beckon anyone to enter. It doesn't flash signals or hang banners. It simply exists, deep, mysterious, natural. Yet, it awakens a primal urge in others, to explore, to understand, to step inside without destroying. A woman who lives true to herself is like this. She is her ecosystem, where every expression, every action, every silence follows its rhythm, untouchable by manipulation. From a psychological perspective, this is the shift from identifying with the shadow to integrating the authentic self, the core of the individuation process Jung described. The woman of before was a conditioned ego, acting from fear, playing roles to be accepted. The new woman no longer performs. She removes the mask, and in doing so, creates a magnetic field that a man, if awake enough, cannot walk away from. But beware, this doesn't work if you try to pretend to be yourself as a strategy. Anyone validated her worth. And when a woman chooses herself, everything else, including love, becomes a bonus, not a condition for survival. This is the paradox. When you live to be loved, love flees. But when you live to become yourself, the right kind of love finds you like an irresistible reflex. Number 6, the final test. And then, like a law of energy, like the inevitable result of a purposeful withdrawal, he returns. It might be a simple text. How have you been? It could be an emoji, a hesitant call, or a genuine attempt to reconnect. But whatever the form, that moment always arrives, and it is the ultimate test. Have you truly returned to yourself? Or were you merely retreating temporarily, waiting for validation? Carl Jung said, "We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life." When he returns, you're not just meeting a man again. You're facing the part of yourself that was once abandoned, anxious, waiting, believing that if only he loved you again, everything would be okay. And if you're not awake enough, that moment will pull you back to the old pattern. The girl who lived in lack, in a craving to be chosen, ready to fall away from herself to hold on to someone. When he returns, the first thing tested is not your pride, but your vibrational frequency. If you respond from an unhealed wound, you'll reply as if you've just been saved. If you've become yourself, you'll respond from fullness. Not guarded, not defensive, just a neutral yet profound presence, like a lake calmed after a storm, now reflecting everything with strange clarity. When a man returns, often he doesn't know why. Maybe a memory, a scent, a void. But if you respond from longing, from old wounds, you turn his return into a loop. If you respond from presence, you create the opportunity for a new quality of connection to be born. Imagine this. You are a mountain. He returns like a wanderer lost in flatlands. Don't rush to embrace him the moment his foot touches your base. Stand still. Let him look up. Let him see you're no longer the same. If he's still living in his ego, he'll want you to lower your height. But if he's touched the awakened part of himself, he'll understand. To stay, he must learn to climb. Psychologically, this is the moment of balancing emotional power. Before, you were below. You gave more, waited more, worried more. Now you've returned to your center. You're neither above nor below. You're simply here. And a man senses that in your energy field, calm, unhurried, but unmistakably no longer easy. Jung analyzed that humans are drawn not to closeness, but to something just far enough to spark curiosity, just deep enough to remain ungraspable. If you hold on to yourself, you become something never fully possessed, and that is where obsession begins. If you ask, what should I do when he returns? Do what you were already doing. Don't turn left from your path to look back. If you were writing, keep writing. If you were healing, go deeper. Meet him from the place where you've grown, not where you once broke. A woman who has returned to her true self doesn't open the door just because someone knocks. She opens it when there's a real reason to. And that makes a man not only want to step inside, but also want to be worthy of her presence. This is the final test to see if you've truly broken free from old patterns or merely draped them in the guise of mature femininity. If your heart is still waiting for him to return to feel whole, your entire journey will collapse the moment you say, I've always been here. But if you look at his return without trembling inside, you've won, not in love, but in your awakening. If you've listened this far, leave a symbol, a word, a dot, anything to let me know you're present with me on this journey. Sometimes, a small gesture of presence is enough to say, I've come this far. And if this video resonates, share it with someone who might need it. Not to help them, but so you can both speak the deeper things words often miss. Finally, if there's one thing to carry from all you've heard, it's this. A woman is not defined by who stays or leaves, but by how she stays with herself, even when every door outside closes. Jung once said, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." The deepest silence is not forged from pain, but born in the heart of darkness, where a woman learns to touch herself without running or clinging. True love is never created from control or fear. It is born from freedom. Freedom to be yourself, to be silent without needing to be heard, to be absent yet profoundly impactful. If you can pass through loneliness without crumbling, if you can love without losing your center, you don't just make others unable to leave. You touch the most sacred essence of femininity. Let your silence be the gentle echo someone hears in their mind long after you've gone. And if someone is deep enough, awake enough, mature enough, they'll return, not because you demanded it, but because you are the only place where they can find themselves.